Good morning on this dreary November day, and boy does it look like November out here today. I am here at the Foltz schoolhouse, which is across the road from Jennings Environmental Center. Look at Route 8 and Old Route 8. And I did do a video on Old Route 8 a couple years ago, so I will be sure to include that at the end of the video. That way you can just click the link and view the video. The Foltz schoolhouse is along the North Country Trail. So we're going to explore the grounds the Foltz schoolhouse is on. Also in this area was the Byrdon mine. Get our feet wet a little bit, not too bad. Quote, from 1935 to 1944, this was the Byrdon coal mine, a drift mine owned and operated by John Byrdon, from which bituminous coal was extracted by as many as 50 employees. Demanding and dangerous work, coal mining was vital to this region to satisfy our ever-increasing need for energy. After the mine closed, this area sat idle for almost 30 years. Mounds of coal refuse, rusty equipment, a collapsing entrance, and degrading water were all that remained on this site. During the 1960s, Pennsylvania initiated Operation Scarlift, a statewide effort to reclaim 100 years of unregulated mining. Operation Scarlift improved this area by removing much of the coal refuse, planting trees, and in an effort to curb the continuous flow of mine drainage, sealing the collapsing entrance. Look for pine, tamarack, and birch trees growing here. Most were planted during this early reclamation effort. Quote, here's the timeline of Byrdon coal mine and water quality. 1935, Byrdon coal mine opens. 1944, Byrdon coal mine closes. 1963, Foltz schoolhouse closes. 1970, Operation Scarlift seals mine entrance and attempts to restore the landscape. 1984, flood causes mine entrance sealed to fail. 1988, wetlands constructed on the west side of Route 8. 1994, anoxic limestone drain constructed. And 1997, vertical flow system and wetland construction on the east side of Route 8. You can see the water looks like a yucky orange. Coal mining was dangerous work. So nature is cleaning up the pollutants from the mine. And this is a wetland at work. So this wetland was constructed as a passive water treatment system designed to neutralize acidic mine drainage and remove troublesome metals without the use of electricity and harsh chemicals. So basically, nature is doing the cleanup job. So these wetlands, they filter the mine drainage, and that's why you see the orange water. Here is a look at the Foltz schoolhouse. The schoolhouse sits just south of the old stone house on Route 8. And just an FYI, the North Country Trail continues straight to Halston Road. This schoolhouse has recently been renovated by volunteers, so thank you to all the volunteers keeping the history alive. There's the bell. And look at those old shingles. And actually there are a lot of these one-room schoolhouses dotted on the landscape here in Butler County. I did find some old maps from 1941, and you can see where all these old schoolhouses were. Some of them have been torn down, others have been restored, and others have been turned into private residences. Certain times of the year they do have the schoolhouse open to the public. And in 2017, a group of volunteers from the Moraine McConnell's Mills Jennings Commission 3 MJC began planning and executing the restoration of the school's interior. The work was done almost entirely by volunteers who invested over 7,000 hours. Quote, funding for the project came from generous private donations, an abandoned mine land economic revitalization grant from the Department of Environmental Protection's Abandoned Mine Reclamation Program, and the DCNR. Quote. Wow, this picture, October 23rd, 1893. Wow. And schools back then had outhouses. There was one for the girls and one for the boys. There was no indoor plumbing. And this here picture is from 1911, 1912. And a lot of times, children had to walk 2 miles uphill both ways in the snow. Order coal now. They did a beautiful job of restoring it. And right above the door, this was schoolhouse number 3. So all these schoolhouses were numbered. And there were no computers, iPads, or internet. All of your lessons were taught using a chalkboard, books, and memorization. So you had to memorize your lessons. Oops. And when this school closed, students were bused to nearby elementary schools. One-room schoolhouses housed grades 1 through 8. If you wanted to go on to high school after 8th grade, you had to take an exam. However, not too many students went to high school after 8th grade because they just needed an 8th grade education back then. If they went on to high school, they were going on to higher education to become doctors, lawyers, engineers. But back then, the boys learned farming and how to repair things, and the girls learned housekeeping and cooking. So back then, the roles were very gender specific. A lot of times the boys would become an apprentice. quote, refuse damage. Occasionally, this coal refuse would catch fire. The teacher and students in nearby Foltz schoolhouse often suffered due to smoke from these fires, which sometimes closed the school for days. During heavy rains, washouts from this exposed hillside were enough to block traffic on the roadway below with a thick covering of mud, quote. Interesting little tidbit. I just read off that historical marker. So be sure when you visit the grounds, you read the markers. That way you have a better understanding of what happened. This looks like an abandoned greenhouse. I'm sure it serves a purpose. Okay, here's some information. Testing ideas, quote, a portion of a polluted discharge from the abandoned Byrdon coal mine once located on this site can be diverted directly to this area for research. The various tanks located in and around the Quonset-like structure are available for experimentation. Colleges, universities, high schools, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations use the site to test materials and technologies that may be used to treat abandoned mine drainage, quote. So you can see the tanks inside. And here's the hillside. Quote, mine drainage moves vertically through a layer of limestone and spent mushroom compost. The limestone neutralizes the highly acidic mine drainage. The compost prevents oxygen from reacting with the dissolved iron and potentially plugging the pond. This is the first 3 steps in Jennings' passive treatment system, quote. So the Byrdon coal mine is a drift mine. What that means, it's an underground mine with a horizontal entry leading into the coal seam from the hillside. And this looks like it was it. And usually there were tunnels going into it. Mines are no longer constructed like this because the incline allows water to flow freely from the mine, causing pollution. And right now I'm going to read this excerpt from Sam Byrdon. Quote, you walk down against that mine and you could feel that cold air hit ya on the face. And oh, that cool air, of course, it blew right past their carbide. And if you were up the tracks a little bit, that's what you smelled, carbide, quote. Sam Byrdon, remembering standing near this location during a childhood visit to his father's mine. temperature isn't too bad. It's around 50 degrees. If you like cold and snow, you're in luck, because next weekend we're supposed to get our first flakes of the season. A lot of these mines dotted the landscape of today's Moraine State Park. And a lot of them were drift mines. They were carved into the hillside. Here we have an abandoned structure. Not sure what this was, but we're going to go ahead and take a look. Step over this jagger bush, aka multiflora rose. It's the fancy name for jaggers. Just move this. I'm not sure what this was. Usually the homes were wood frame homes, unless this was like a supervisor's home. If you're hiking at Moraine, like on the Sunken Garden Trail or sections of the North Country Trail, you can see hillsides similar to this. And there is a section on the North Country Trail right near Route 528. They have the hill just like this, and there's like a drainage sluice coming off the hill. It is still visible to this day. That's just a reminder of how this area used to have heavy industry. And this must have been an old road up to the mine. Coal mining was hard and dangerous work, and the men worked really hard to provide a day wages for their families. You went to work in the morning and you didn't know if you were going to come out alive. I will say I won't complain about my job anymore. I like my job, I do. Everybody has bad days, but there's good days and bad days. Air smells a little funky here, like iron. Aquafix, active treatment device. Quote, this active treatment device called an Aquafix adds pellets of quicklime to untreated mine drainage. The lime neutralizes the acidic water. Then exposure to oxygen in the air helps to remove minerals dissolved in the discharge. This machine is used at Jennings as a backup whenever the passive treatment system is being maintained. Quote, so this is a backup system. And in 1977, the Surface Mining Control Reclamation Act came out, and that required any drainage from an operating coal mine to meet strict water quality guidelines. And making a splash. Wow. Quote, look carefully, a chemical reaction is occurring right before your eyes. Since this water came into contact with pyrite or Foltz gold deep within the abandoned Byrdon coal mine, it has been laden with dissolved iron. At first glance, the water may appear clear and clean, but looks can be deceiving. As it mixes with oxygen at the base of this pipe, the water begins to turn orange. The color change occurs as the previously dissolved iron becomes solid. This process is called oxidation. It is similar to a cut apple turning brown as it is exposed to oxygen. Quote. So they have to get the iron out to get the water clean. And oxidization is one of the steps of the 3-treatment process. And there's the chemical formula. We're learning that in descriptive chem at BC3. I got a C in that class, and I worked hard for that C because chemistry is a difficult class. And when you see the prerequisite is algebra 1, trust me, you need algebra to balance out the chemical equations. And I enjoyed that class. I really did. I learned a lot. I learned one thing: never ever put pool chemicals with brake fluid, because I saw firsthand the explosion it caused. My teacher, Mrs. Thompson, God rest her soul, because she passed, she did an experiment with pool chemicals and brake fluid. She was a wonderful teacher. And the chem lab is the most expensive and the most dangerous to maintain. Even if you're not good at the sciences, that's a class I highly recommend you take. This would be a great field trip for science classes. I think they should come here to the Foltz Schoolhouse and the Byrdon mine grounds. And this site is a great side trip when you visit Jennings Environmental Education Center. Be sure to check it out. Not sure what this device is. Well, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and everybody have a great weekend.